Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, we're going to talk about the WNBA. Been looking forward to having this conversation. It's been a long time coming. And we have a WNBA insider to talk to on this episode. It is none other than from the J Spot Network. My girl, JBoog, is back in the building. Jay, what up?
What up, what up, what up, 12 Kyle family? What's going on?
Hey, man.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, when you talk WNBA, we have to talk to people who know what they're talking about. Because clearly, if you've been following anything in the WNBA or the discussion surrounding some of the players in the WNBA, there's been a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about. So you and I have had several discussions, and so I'm glad to get you on and glad to have you on here to talk WNBA. Before we even get started, I know I mentioned this on a previous podcast, but you have not only dipped your foot into the WNBA pool, but you have really dove in over this last year and a half or so, becoming, like I said, the WNBA insider, not only covering but also women's college basketball on your YouTube channel, which has had a following that has really taken off. So let's start there. What made you get into women's college basketball and then the WNBA?
Well, it hasn't been a year yet.
Really?
I just started in when did the playoffs start? October?
Okay.
September, October. So it's not quite a year yet, but that's what got me into it because I had I got some channels because I didn't have my cable provider did not really. I got the basic, so you get whatever you got, and they didn't have sports channels. So I didn't get to see a lot of the sports stuff, and at that time I really wasn't into it. And then I switched over, got YouTube TV. YouTube TV has a lot of just random channels that you get, and being that they're women that play, that's where most of their games are going to be because they don't want to put them on national TV a lot. Not anymore. When they first started, it was, and then they kind of fell off and started going to these different channels. So I was able to start watching the W. And so I got really interested watching the Aces. And in my podcast, I pick 3 things, talk about them, just anything I'm interested in. And at that time, it was the Aces. And so I was like, well, I don't really talk sports on my show.
Right.
So I don't know how the audience is going to take it, but maybe if I go on YouTube, because I don't use my YouTube, I had it for years and I think I put like 5 podcast episodes on it because I was just like, I don't want to be on YouTube, whatever. So I was like, I can go on YouTube because I've done maybe a couple of live episodes and then being podcast happy hour, that's what got me like, well, you've been on YouTube, you know how to do the live, just try it out. Started talking about that. And I put the video out not thinking anybody would care. It was just like, I'll put this on video and then I'll do my regular podcast. And I just started getting all these responses. I think it was my second video that I did. And then I got a response like, I've been waiting for you. I was waiting to see what you were going to say. And I was like, me? Like what? Like I was just on here talking about my favorite team in the finals. They were going up against New York. So I was talking about that. And you know how much I love Asia Wilson and stuff. And they were like, we come to you because, we love the way you see the game. You're not like anybody else. And we just love it. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. I mean, that's different. Because usually I don't really get with my podcast. I have a lot of, I call them silent supporters. They listen. I see the numbers there, but I don't get a lot of responses unless it's like you guys, like my community would always say stuff. So I wasn't used to that. And so I said I told them I'm not going to have a sports show. So don't come here thinking you're going to get a sports show. It's not going to happen. I'm just talking about the Aces and that's it. When the finals is over, go listen to my podcast pretty much. And I mean, when I got down to the finals, I did the recap of the finals because we lost our 2 starters. Everybody was coming to my page or coming to my thing saying, they're about to lose. You're not going to make it. New York is about to wash you guys. And I'm like, hold on. We still have Asia D. Wilson on our team. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we still have Asia Wilson. We still have Jackie Young. We still have Kelsey Plum. Like, they're not scrubs. Like, yeah, we don't have Chelsea. That's a big piece of us. And we don't have Kia. But, like, these ain't scrubs. I think we can do it. And so I told them if we win, I needed them all to come back so I can say to their faces that I was right. And it just became a thing. And after I did the parade, celebration, the parade, and then people were like, what are you going to talk about next? And I was like, nothing. I wasn't going to talk about anything. They was like, no, you got to talk. Are you going to talk about college? Do you watch college? And I was like, not really. I don't, but I can check out some games. And then I started because of Asia and Dawn Staley. Of course, that's your girl.
That's my girl. That's my boo.
I heard a lot about South Carolina. Right. I heard a lot about South Carolina, so I wanted to watch them. I watched their first game they had in Paris, and then I was blown away. So I just started talking about that. And then over the course of the whole season, I covered LSU, South Carolina, and Notre Dame. And I would have a weekly show, which I call it now Tuesday Night Live. And people tune in. And now we're back into the W season. And yeah, it's grown a lot. So that's in the long short of it. That's how I started. It was just the people responded. I didn't think they would. And since they were, I was like, well, I mean, if I'm getting engagement, I'm going to talk about it anyway. Right. So why not do it? So yeah.
And that's what was interesting because like, and for those of you who don't know, Jay has her own podcast. So, if you follow my podcast, you know she's been on here and I've been on her podcast. But on her podcast, she doesn't talk sports. So, for her to really in the last year or so develop this huge following on her YouTube channel covering the WNBA and women's college basketball is crazy because I remember, I don't even think I knew that you were talking about it. I just so happened because I follow your YouTube page, and of course I follow your podcast page. But I was on YouTube one day and it was like JBoog is live. So I was like, oh, let me see what Jay's talking about. And you were sitting there and there was a screen in like the bottom right-hand corner, bottom left corner. And it was the championship game, I think. Either the championship game or the finals, probably the finals, the WNBA finals. And so you were recapping and you were playing the game on your computer, and you had folks watching, and they were commenting. I was like, wait a minute, this game has already been played. We already know the winner, and she's doing a breakdown. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I just sat there and watched it, and I think I chimed in at some point. But I didn't even know you even liked basketball at that point. And I've known Jay for a while, so I was like, damn, okay. And then it just really kind of took off from there. And I remember distinctly us, chatting and texting during, this past women's basketball season and watching games and stuff like that. And, I think it all, for a lot of people, and I'm not going to say everybody because the W has a following and has had a huge following prior to this year, just in case you don't know. Right. But I think, the championship game between LSU and Iowa when Caitlin Clark was going up against Angel Reese, I think that was huge. And we'll talk about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in just a few, but I think that was that, at least I know for me, that was something that sparked a lot of conversation. And even in my group chat, because me and my homies, a lot of us are from South Carolina. We're from the state of South Carolina, and we love Dawn Staley. And so, it was, watching them go on and run and everything like that. So I'd seen Asia play when she was at South Carolina, seen some of the great players like Aaliyah Boston that have come through there. So I would watch South Carolina games. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I watched a whole bunch of WNBA games. I would catch a game here or there, but I mostly would watch WNBA games during the playoffs. Because the playoffs are is just as intense,
It's
as
intense,
the
yeah.
NBA playoffs. And I think that's where, I kind of got hooked, and then I tapped in and realized that the homie right here is an expert. So she's on it right there. So I guess the next question I have for you, because there's a lot of people now who, there are a lot of new eyes, male and female, smart and dumb.
Facts.
Why should folks watch the WNBA?
I mean, if you love competitive sports, then, I mean, that's where you want to go. Yeah, there's not flashy dunking, but I mean, these women put their bodies on the line. They are fundamentally like sound, like they play basketball, like shots, layups, they play defense. People talk about the comparison between NBA and the WNBA. That you got teams that scoring 122 points every night and stuff because there's not a lot of defense being played. These ladies play defense and they're scrappy, and it's just exciting. I mean, some people don't find it exciting, but I find it exciting. I mean, the athleticism of these ladies. I mean, I've been watching W since Lisa Leslie was there. And so, I mean, just like basketball in itself, like LeBron doesn't play like Dr. J. Like there's a whole different style of play, as the game grows. So, yeah, Lisa Leslie, I thought she was exciting just doing her thing. She was one of the first, I think she was the first person to dunk in the game.
She was.
But now you got shorter people like Kennedy Carter from Chicago Sky. I don't forget how tall she is, but she's maybe 5'10", maybe. She can dunk.
Wow.
You got Malaysia Fawali. She's not in the W yet, but she plays for South Carolina. She's 5'10". She can dunk.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have some athleticism in this league, and maybe she's not dunking, but when you see her run down the court and go up for an alley-oop layup, like you're already in the air and you're so close to the basket, you just laid up. That stuff is exciting. I just love the back and forth. So if you just love the sport, it's just as flashy. It can be just as fast paced. Yeah, we don't score 122 points, but we might get to 100. They do say like they play a little bit slower, but I mean, like I said, they play defense, right? So it's not going to be as fast. But I mean, you want to see some fights, you want to see some arguing, you want to see like it's all there. It's all there. So it's good. It's good to watch. So if you're into just sports and the fundamentals of that sport, then there you go. And then I mean the guys. I mean there's some pretty girls, I guess, that's in there.
We're gonna talk about that too.
Oh, okay.
I agree 1,000% with you. I think for me, like I love basketball. I love the game. So I love watching the game. I used to love to play, but I'm a little older now, so the crossover ain't what it used to be. The jumper ain't what it used to be. So I put my high tops up. But I will say this much: while the women's game is played on the floor and under the rim, the men's game is played obviously above the rim. There's a lot of athleticism on that court, and the thing that I love about, and I was just telling some of the homies just the other day. The thing that I love about women's basketball, college women's basketball, as well as the WNBA is that the skill sets are so sharp. Like if you have a point guard, your point guard can dribble through anything because they're just that skilled. It's not so much as about because in the NBA, you could be just faster than the guy in front of you. You know what I mean? Like everybody doesn't have the type of speed that Allen Iverson had with the basketball in their hand. But the women in the W who are like just point guards, for example, they're going to be crazy with the ball because they're, very skilled. And another thing I love about the game is just the flow of the game. You mentioned, playing defense. They play defense, but I love the way that they run offense because like the ball is constantly moving. You can tell that they're running plays. They're coming off curls. They're coming off screens. They're setting picks for each other, so forth and so on. Conversely, in the NBA, and I know it's a different type of league, but the game doesn't flow the same. You could have a pick and roll between, I'll just use Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And then after that, he gets the ball. He's standing at the top of the key. He's going between his legs 5, 6, 7 times. And then he steps back and shoots a fadeaway three. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess that's cool if he makes it. But to me, that wasn't the basketball that I grew up on. Now, I'm not one of those old fogies and be like, oh, the game needs to go back to. No, because the game evolved. And I think as the W grows, I think it will evolve as well. I think sometimes I watch some of these games and I see in women's college basketball as well that it kind of reminds me of the late 80s, early 90s with the physicality. But again, the players are more skilled. And I think because, like, let's say if there's 12 women on a WNBA team, all 12 of those women can play. Now, conversely, in the NBA, you might have 15 guys on the team and maybe 10 of them can play. And maybe only 9 of them are going to play. In the W, most of the ladies play. And if they don't play, and we saw here recently with some of the cuts, they get cut. And I mean, like, in the NBA, they will give you time to develop. If you're a first round pick, you probably got 2 or 3 years to develop. In the W, if you ain't cutting it, they don't care if you was the 10th pick in the draft last year. They gonna let you go. And so the level of competition is there. And that's one of the things I love about it. So just to, piggyback off your point, I love watching the game. So I love basketball and I love like I said, I love the flow of the game. I'm not bothered by the fact that, they're not scoring 120 points because the reality is, even when you compare it to the NBA, if you compare it, in the NBA, you see a lot of 130, 140 point games during the regular season. You don't see that in the playoffs. You know why? Because they play defense in playoffs. Nobody's playing around. You mentioned Asia Wilson a little earlier. What makes Asia Wilson, and I mean, like, she is a phenomenal young lady. I think she's 26, 27? 27, okay. So she is, by most professional standards, entering the prime of her career. She's already won multiple MVPs, titles. She is basically one of the faces, if not the face of the league. What do you think makes her as great as she is?
Asia is the best player in the world. She just is. The way she carries herself on the court and off the court, she's a leader. And so, I mean, if people have followed her career and you watched her in college, so you've seen her the way she was at college, and if you see her play now, like the growth that she's had, and it didn't happen overnight. Like, she came in with some skills, but every year she adds to her game. Every year she works to get better. Even when she's rookie of the year, even when she was MVP in 2020, I think, she still works on her game, add different pieces to it. Oh, she does too many layups. Okay, now I got a mid-range shot. Right. Oh, I do too many mid-range shot. Oh, I'm going to take you off the dribble now. Oh, you don't think I got a face-up game? Now I'm going to do this. Oh, you don't think I defend well? Okay, now I'm going to do this. Now it's like, oh, you don't think I can shoot threes? Now I'm a threat on the three-point line. Like, she's just continuously getting better, and it's working, and she's on the best team in the world. Her skills and her leadership has gotten her to 2 back-to-back championships, something that wasn't done in 21 years, I think it was, since the Houston Comets. They're going for a three-peat this year. The only other team that's done that is the Houston Comets. Obviously, they won the first 4, so it's big shoes. Yeah, big shoes to fill. But that stuff, and her teammates play for her. She won Defensive Player of the Year last year. What did she do? She brought up her fellow post player, Kia Stokes, and said, no, I'm sharing this with her because the reason I'm good and the reason I can get those shots or I can defend is because she's helping me set screens or she's helping me do this. So I'm sharing this with her. Like, who does that when they get stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? So when she scored the 53 points, she tied for the record for the most points in a game at 53. What'd she do? I thank my teammates. If they weren't passing me the ball, if they didn't give me the ball, I wouldn't have that. So when you have a leader like that, they want to play for you. They want to work together, and it's just a good cohesive team there, and she's the catalyst of that. So that's what makes her the best player in the world. That's what makes her Asia Wilson.
I
MVP.
love watching her. I love watching. She reminds me she reminds me so much of like one of those players that watches other players and takes little pieces of their game and implements it into their game. You can tell that she's a student of the game, that she studies the game, she studies film, and she appears to me at least to be somebody who's not trying to rest on their laurels. Like you said, she's got the notoriety, she's got the endorsement, she's got everything in the palm of her hand, but she doesn't seem satisfied at all. I saw a press conference that she did a couple of weeks back from the time of this recording where she was talking about her teammates in a press conference, and she started tearing up because she was just talking about not wanting to let them down. And I'm like, I kind of sat back and was like, wow, like I couldn't ever imagine, a man in the in the NBA, a superstar, being at the podium in front of the media and their teammates or whatever, and just getting teary-eyed about how much that particular, the team means to them, and they don't want to let them down. And that's not to say that they don't have those type of conversations or those type of emotions, but to do that on display in front of the world and be vulnerable and not even be bothered by it, I thought was tremendous. And it says a lot about who she is. And, you saw these kind of things at South Carolina because the program that Dawn Staley runs at South Carolina is a very special basketball program. But you didn't know that she would be this kind of star. But I mean, truth be told, Dawn is turning them out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I'm happy to see Asia and her growth. And I know that's, your favorite player, and she's on your T-shirt, so I had to ask.
Oh, yeah, and she's behind me.
Oh, I forgot you got a book back there, too, as well. This year, obviously, if you've been following the WNBA, a lot of talk has been about Caitlin Clark and the effect that she's had on the WNBA and what she's done, some of what she has not done. I've been on your Tuesday Night Live, and I've seen some of the commentary, which is, I always pop in on Tuesdays because Tuesdays are the nights that I normally record my podcast. And so I'll pop in on Jay's live, say what's up, and I'll sit in there for a little bit before I start recording mine. And I'm always amazed because there's always one or two, that have the comments. What has been your overall thought process on what Caitlin Clark, or the discussion surrounding Caitlin Clark and what it's done to and for the WNBA?
So Caitlin Clark herself, like the I guess the fanfare that she's brought to the W and the viewership and the fans and all that other stuff, that's good for the W. But the issue is that and I don't even think I always say I don't even think it's her real fans. She's gotten a crew of people that are only there to make sure she's superior and she's above everybody else. And we know why that is. The WNBA is predominantly black and brown. And so not that they don't have stars that are not. You got Breonna Stewart, you got Sabrina Ionescu, you got DT, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, a lot of those players. But for whatever reason, they feel like everyone is upset because now Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA, which she's not. But let me preface this by saying, if someone watches this, I guess I'm on the haters clubs. They already got that floating around, so they might be happy to hear that.
You're a Caitlin Clark hater.
But I'm really not. Like, I like Caitlin Clark. I like her game, but I just appreciate her for the player that she is, but she's not basketball Jesus, and she didn't create the W. And it kind of turned a lot of us fans of the W that were fans of the W prior to this class coming in, turned us off a little bit because we've been watching. Like, again, I watched since 97, since Lisa came in. So I've seen them growing, and I've seen them trying to get to the place that they are now. And that's on the backs of all these other people that have been playing for 27 years. It's not just this one person that came in and snapped their finger. Now all this stuff is going on, and now you have people that's saying like people need to kiss her butt and worship the ground that she walks on, and you can't guard her, and you can't do this, and you can't talk to her, you can't look her in the eye because you owe a debt of gratitude to her. That's what ruins the game. You know what I'm saying? If it was just people coming in saying, I'm a fan, like I'm a fan of Asia. I'm never going to somebody else and saying, Asia's better than your player. I never say that. Right. I talk about Asia. Asia's my GOAT, or Asia's my future GOAT. But I can appreciate other players, but there's a wave of people coming in saying this player is the best. She's the best that we've ever had. Nobody is better than her. Oh, this arena's selling out because of her, even though she's not even in that city. So that's what kind of ruins it. So it's been a big part of the media. It started in college because you did not hear a lot, and we were talking about this. Mm-hmm. You didn't hear a lot about South Carolina. You didn't hear a lot about LSU. You didn't hear a lot about any other team other than Caitlin and Iowa. And you didn't even hear about any of the other Iowa players, unless it's just so happened they happen to score a lot of games or points that game. So they started this, like, let's have a counter to see how many points she's going to get. Because, yes, she does have the scoring record for the NCAA. Shout out to her for having that. That's awesome. But they have this counter. They had ESPN following her. They have, every press conference, every game, they're cutting into games to say, Caitlin Clark scored 30 points. And it's like, okay, like have it on the ticker. Like you're not doing that for anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like South Carolina literally is undefeated and has been undefeated since last year, and nothing about them. But again, when you say stuff like that, people think you're jealous. But it started there. And so when she was going to the W, as well as Angel Reese, and that's a whole nother thing that you may touch on or whatever.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna talk about
that just created like a whole other mess of like media negative stuff that's coming into the W. So I can do without all the negativity. Like right now, I think, well, I'm going to say I have most of it muted, so I don't know if it's still happening or not. But for me, I don't really see it
That's good.
anymore. I'm just enjoying basketball. I get to enjoy my favorite teams, enjoy my favorite players. Excuse me. And I don't really see a lot of the negativity. I still see some, but not a lot. And then I can actually enjoy what Caitlin is doing, because honestly, her and Angel are kind of neck and neck when we're talking about the Rookie of the Year. They're doing great things, just two different things. Now, Angel is in the record books. There's that. So she's doing her thing. You know what I'm saying? Caitlin's not there yet. But when you're just looking at their play, what she's doing as a point guard and how she scores with Indiana versus what Angel's doing as a post player, they're not going to 100% compare with each other, but both of them are like back and forth, neck and neck. You know what I'm saying? So I'm enjoying watching that and just, enjoying that without all the drama. So if we can kill all the drama and just let people watch basketball, it's great. So we appreciate the eyes, but we don't appreciate the misinformation and this need to have some kind of superior person, because let's be honest, the best player in the world is A'ja Wilson. That's that. So I'm not really sure what else we're talking about.
And you know what's interesting, and you and I have had conversations about it. I think let me start by saying Caitlin Clark is a phenomenal basketball player. Obviously, you don't get to where she is in the WNBA, even with her accolades in college, without being dope. So she is a great player, and really, if you watch the game, if you enjoy watching the game, she is fun to watch. And I'm not even just talking about those logo threes that she shoots. I'm talking about even her passing ability. I think has gotten better in her time, in the short time that she spent in the W so far. And I think you can have her, rise as a star and not necessarily give her all of the accolades and all of the praise and say it's because of you that we're here. Because if you do that, then, you're not really telling the truth. And like you said, I think a lot of it's media driven. And because I'll be honest, and I think I told you this before, like I would go on USA Today website to, read whatever's on USA Today. And on the side column, there's 3 articles about here's where you can watch the Fever tonight against the Storm. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's a preseason game. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, are you running out of space? Are you running out of stuff to talk about? And I get it. She is box office. She and Angel Reese, and we'll talk about them in just a second. The two of them going head to head, I want to say they had like 14 million viewers in the semifinal game because they didn't even play in the championship game this year. Mm-hmm. They matched up in the semifinal game, LSU versus Iowa. Angel for LSU and Caitlin at Iowa. And like I said, it was like 14 million. And just to bring, some type of clarity to it, the NBA Finals, which at the time of this recording just ended not that long ago, didn't even get close to that. I think it was like their best game was like 12 million. So you're doing those kind of numbers. Like it was that many people tuning in. But, I think it's, very irresponsible particularly if you're in the media and you paint this narrative that all of this has happened because of one player. And it's not fair to Caitlin. And Caitlin, I think she's tried to do as much as I don't know if she's done as much as she could. She's tried to stay above the fray. I can only imagine what she goes through as far as like, on a day to day. But, I remember seeing, and this was like maybe the first couple of weeks of the W. Oh, why is it so? I was seeing comments on Twitter and Instagram. Why is it so rough? They're just throwing her around. Like, this is
it's basketball.
You go for a loose ball, it's on the floor. You got to get on the floor. No, right. And no, you don't have that level of physicality in the NBA because some of those guys are like, man, I ain't about to go dive on the ball. I remember LeBron dove for a ball and the guy came and they dove at the same time and he rolled under LeBron's ankle. LeBron was out for like 3 weeks. So no, you can't compare the two, but I think where they really have mishandled this is that they've given her all the praise. And while she deserves a lot of the praise, I don't think she deserves all the praise. And again, it's not something that I don't think she sought. But we had grown men, black men in particular, on TV making claims that, it's, they should bow down in so many words. They should bow down to Caitlin Clark. They're hating on her. Charles Barkley said something to that effect. LeBron said something to that effect. We've seen a lot of, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, you and I have seen a lot of black men. Again, you said this is a predominantly black women's league, but we've seen a lot of black men on social media go to war, not literally, but not physically, but literally, to war with their Twitter fingers for Caitlin Clark. Why has it been so difficult for us as black men because I think because the race element we can't ignore. You have, and we're going to get into Caitlin and Angel, but you have a white girl who's straight, who's from middle America. She looks like a girl I shouldn't call her a girl, a young lady who worked at the local library, so she's just, she's quote unquote, the American type, if you will. So you kind of expect that from the white media, but why do you think it's been so difficult for members of the media, black members of the media, and black men on social media to have real discussions without fanning out over Caitlin Clark?
I mean, I think for the media men, they know who pays their checks and they know what they have to say. That's that. They aren't doing any research. Charles Barkley didn't do any research. He listened to what LeBron said. Now, I don't know what LeBron knows about the W, but it's just odd to me that for him to be so close to Asia Wilson, who, apparently the LeBron fans told me that he advocates for her a lot, that he would. Honestly, I wasn't listening to what he said. I did. I was watching the finals or the playoffs, so I happened to see what Charles Barkley said. But whatever it was something to the effect that like, they do owe Caitlyn something or whatever. Like, she is the spotlight. She's the reason why they have all this stuff, which
chartered
is
flights
again,
and televised games.
True.
Like they should be bowing down and kissing her feet.
Yeah. I can say that for the media, I think is that they know, like they can't really say too much other than what they're told to say. Charles Barkley just says whatever, and he's mostly wrong a lot of the times. Now, just regular black men, I guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's blaring that the black woman just doesn't get respect. It's just that's what it is. Nobody really takes us seriously. No one really, stands up for us. Not all black men, but there's a sector of black men who just, for whatever reason, just don't mess with us. And if it's any point in time that they can fumble and fall over somebody else to make us look horrible, they're going to do that. And that's what it is, because that's why you hear a lot, oh, y'all just jealous. Y'all just being petty. Well, how are these ladies being petty when they put in the work?
Right.
They've been in these meetings about charter flights for 2, 3, or however long they've been working on it, 10 years or whatever like that. Like, this new class brought in the viewership, so maybe it helped speed it along now that they have revenue coming in a little bit more. Yes, but I don't exactly know what they want people to do, because the viewership is helping everybody. I mean, what else do you want them to do? Like, stop playing? Like, these women are competitive. So for you to say bow down to her, like, this is so crazy to me, because I've also watched the NBA for a very long time. I've never, and correct me if I'm wrong, I never knew when Michael Jordan came into the league that they said this man is special, especially when he became popular. Don't guard Jordan, because he's the reason why, like, we got McDonald's commercials now. Like, come on now. He's the reason why.
Right.
When Kobe comes in the league, oh, he's 18. Don't mess with him. Like, he's a special guy. Don't guard him. Don't touch him. Don't look at him. You owe the world to him. He's the next big thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, here's LeBron. Don't touch him. Don't look. This guy's going to be special. Don't do that. I've never, and for guys and NBA guys to sit there and say the women need to be the ones that's taking a back seat, not guarding this girl, not playing her, don't be so physical. But you would never do that. Matt Barnes sat up there and said, oh, we protected Kobe. Yeah, but if they told you to not touch Kobe when you were playing against him, are you going to do that as a rookie? They were beating that boy up. I was there. I was watching it.
He's lying. He didn't protect Kobe. He tried to fight Kobe.
Right. I was there. I was there when Kobe first entered the league. They hated that boy. Right. They were like going after him left and right because they wanted to knock him down a peg, because they're saying he's supposed to be the next big thing and he's a high schooler. Right. Like, no. So, yeah, they challenged him and he was up for the challenge. And over the years, it took a long time, but over the years, they were like, oh, yeah, he is that guy. You know what I'm saying? So it took some time. But for you to want these women to do something you wouldn't do, it's just odd to me. Like, other than just being disrespectful, like you just don't respect us or don't respect them because they're a league of black and brown people. Because you don't say, you don't call out, it's only the black women that you call out for being petty. And then, of course, some people said some stuff about DT because DT said she's gonna, and all she said was like, it's gonna be an adjustment for her. She's not gonna just come in and do the things she did in college, which everybody. 2 months in, she's right. You know what I'm saying? So who's hating? So I just didn't get it. I can just chunk it down to that it's just black women just aren't respected. And it showed, because if we want to talk about damsel in distress, and not even that Angel was this, but you got this girl who's getting death threats, who has been harassed for 2 years now, two whole years. I didn't see Charles Barkley. I ain't see Stephen A. I ain't see that Ocho dude. I ain't see Shannon Sharp. I ain't seen nobody on the internet, no black man coming to this girl's rescue. I've seen a lot of other celebrities that were women and other people coming to her, not even rescue, just saying, y'all leave this girl alone. Like, it's just basketball. I didn't see them say anything about her. As a matter of fact, the Ocho dude, which I don't really know his name, but he Emmanuel Ocho, Acho, whatever his name is.
Okay, no,
not
Emmanuel
Chad, not Chad.
Okay, yeah, I don't listen to him.
When Angel won, when they lost against Iowa in the Elite Eight, I think it was.
No, semifinals.
Yeah. Was it?
Or was it?
Elite Eight.
Okay.
Because they didn't make it to the Final Four.
Because they didn't make it to the Final Four.
Yeah, when they lost to the Elite Eight, Angel was very emotional. Now, at that time, we didn't realize that that was her last game because she hadn't announced that she was going to go to the W. She had an option to stay an extra year. She said she wasn't making her decision until the end. So she was emotional. It wasn't because they lost, but she was still emotional. And then she talked about her two teammates, Haley Van Lith and Flau'jae Johnson, really spoke really good words about her, saying like, y'all demonize her in the media. Y'all beat up on this girl. She's a young girl, all because of some game that happened. And it's been no peace. Y'all write about her horribly. Y'all treat her like, she's the scum of the earth and it's not cool. And y'all don't know her. Like Flau'jae was like, y'all don't know Angel Reese. Like, I know Angel Reese. She makes me a better player. She's in here practicing. No matter what y'all do to her, she still shows up. She shows up for our team, blah, 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 blah. So Angel is emotional. She gets on stage and she just says, I can't ever take up for myself because I'm not allowed to say things. I'm not allowed to show emotions. I'm not allowed to do this. I've gotten death threats. I've been sexualized. People write bad things about me. And she was like, I just try to not think about it. You know what I'm saying? I just try to be the best person I can be for my team and just deal with it. But she says, I haven't had peace since I won that national championship. No peace since I won a basketball game. At that point, it was a year ago.
Right.
And she says, honestly, I would do it again. I wouldn't change a thing because there's other girls looking up to me. And if I can make it through, that's going to give them something. But it's not easy and it's hard. And then the Ocho guy says, oh, so now you're crying? I thought you were a villain. You can't be a villain and a victim at the same time. I'm like, are y'all listening to this girl say she has death threats because she won a basketball game and taunted somebody who also taunted people while she was playing. Right. So that type of stuff is just baffling to me that you're not even listening to what she's saying because they're saying, oh, she was crying because she lost the game. It wasn't because she lost the game. It's because finally she can breathe. Finally, she can just let loose and say, these are my emotions. After having this hard exterior for so long, this is her last game. Again, we didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So she took that opportunity to just let things out. So, I mean, it's just crazy to me that these men, and I was asking you, I was like, Kyle, what is up? What is up with your people? Because
we had some conversations.
I don't get it.
We had some conversations. It's interesting because like when you think about Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, it does go back to the national championship game from a couple of years ago, and Caitlin Clark did some things on a basketball court that were totally legal. She had a couple of fouls that she didn't get called for. Fine. That happens in a basketball game. If you play and watch basketball, you know that happens. But one thing that comes with taunting or showing somebody up is that they're going to do it back to you. If you score, it's just like in football. If you score a touchdown and you do the funky chicken and you do all kind of dances and stuff, trust me, people will. They're always going to get their get back because they're going to wait for and relish the opportunity to do so. And the thing is, if they get back on you, what can you say? There's nothing you can say. So It started with that national championship game, and Angel Reese was vilified. I mean, I saw everything on social media from people calling her a thug and and everything because, of the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. What was obvious was, and I think it's just, from one, to me, I think it's funny because there's an inherent something within us that we root for those that look like us. It could be JBoog could be on Jeopardy. And if she's going against two white contestants, if I didn't know her, I see her on Jeopardy. Oh, let me root for this little black girl. Mm-hmm. Come on now. Come on, JBoog. I'm at home on the couch rooting, or Wheel of Fortune, or whatever the case may be. And I think that's funny because we don't acknowledge that. And I do distinctly remember this was the first time on my timeline on Twitter that I logged on and every single tweet was about this game. Everyone. There were women, there were black women tapped in, there were black men tapped in, and everybody on my timeline seemed to be rooting for this little girl from LSU, which was Angel Reese. I had seen Angel Reese play before. I'd seen LSU play before. I was rooting for South Carolina. South Carolina didn't make it, right? And so, to be honest, Jay, when I look back on that time, I don't think I had even heard of Caitlin Clark. And it's not to say that she's not a great player, because one of the assistant coaches at South Carolina is a young lady by the name of Jolette Law. She is Dawn Staley's head assistant. Jolette Law set all of the basketball records at Iowa when she was in college in the late 80s. Jolette and I went to high school together. Well, let me take that back. We went to the same high school. She graduated before I got there. Okay. But, I know her family. She knows my family, so forth and so on. She's a few years older than me. But so I'm familiar with, women's basketball, and I'm familiar with Iowa basketball through Jolette, because we watched her play a couple of times on TV. So for Caitlin Clark to have broken her records, I knew that she was nice. I didn't know she was that nice. So I remember watching that game, and it was just like, but on my timeline, everybody was commenting about it. And it was really about Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. And Middle America, when they logged on to Twitter, they got their Twitter fingers going. Hey, this is this little white girl. Let's support her. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. That's the way that it came off. And it's been that way through their final year of college. And as Caitlin said and broke these records, she had more and more people watching and tuning in. And rightfully so, because you don't get a chance, when you get a chance to break a record, a scoring record, like her college record, for those of you who don't know, she scored more points than anybody else in college basketball, male or female, in her time in college. And
that was recorded.
That was recorded. And so that record, particularly on the men's side, is probably not likely to be broken, because most men who are scorers like that, they're not staying in college basketball that long. They're going to the NBA. And so I said all that to say this. You fast forward through, the semifinal or Elite Eight game, and they lose. And, so it's Caitlin versus Angel again. And these games are drawing huge numbers. Caitlin Clark, her team beats LSU, beats Angel Reese. The headline, Caitlin Clark gets her victory over Angel. I mean, they don't...
Just playing into it, yeah.
They don't play against each other, really. I mean, like...
Not at all.
And I had a friend ask me if the W should prop this up the way that the NBA did for Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. And I said, well, they could. I was like, but it's kind of treacherous. I said, it's already formed that way, but they don't really go against each other. And the reason why I say that is because, like, when I started watching basketball, it was the year that Magic and Bird came into the league. That was 1980. And so I remember them going head to head. And this was way before cable TV. This was way before League Pass, so it wasn't like I saw a whole bunch of games. And I mean, I remember in the early 80s, some of the NBA games were on tape delay. So, it wasn't like the league was really struggling. And they had a white guy from Indiana and a black guy from Michigan. And these two had already went head to head in the championship game, which Magic won. And then the Lakers and the Celtics, the teams that these two guys played for, battled for championships, for the finals championship throughout the 80s. And they were the face of the league. And they literally and figuratively saved the NBA. And I think, what people don't talk about is that Magic was black, Bird was white. And so naturally when people, because like and it's funny, Jay, because to see black Boston Celtics fans now, I had never seen, because think about it, you coming up in the 80s, nobody black rooted for the Celtics. And I didn't grow up in Boston, so that's different. So that was an anomaly for me to actually meet black people who rooted for the Celtics. Like, that didn't happen. Everybody liked the Lakers. I didn't like the Lakers, but everybody else liked the Lakers. I said all that to say this. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, I think, is they can play it up, but it's really not fair to them because, again, they don't even play against each other. At least you saw Magic and Bird guarding each other or whatever like that. Caitlin Clark is a point guard. Mm-hmm. You know, Angel Reese is a post player. She's a power forward. She's a rebounder. She's a phenomenal rebounder. Her game offensively is still rounding into what it's going to be, and they are both very young. They will be the face of the WNBA going forward. At some point, A'ja Wilson's going to give up her title, but it doesn't look like she's trying to give it up anytime soon.
Not right now.
But, you know, at some point they will. But I think people have to be patient, one. And then I think the second thing is, like, again, they don't play against each other. The two teams, and even when they met at the time of this recording, they just played a couple of days ago, people were tuned in. I had people texting me, blowing me up. Hey, are you watching the game? And listen, I don't know many 50-year-old men that watch the WNBA, but my group chat was blowing up about this game. Mm-hmm. And it's because of these stars. And I think because, first and foremost, both ladies can hoop. Angel Reese, as she said after the game, she's a dog. Mm-hmm. She is. She is a player. I commend her for what she's gone through because, Lord only, I don't, the idea of sending somebody a death threat over a basketball game, you're pitiful. I mean, like, and what's unfortunate is that you'd never do that to a man. Never. Never, ever. And you definitely wouldn't do it to a black man. So to your point, Jay, I think we, particularly as black men especially black men in the media, and that's not to say that you have to cater to somebody, but I think you need to do more as far as protecting. Call that stuff out and then let it be, because that shouldn't happen. Because trust me, I don't think anybody's sending Caitlin Clark death threats. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But I'm looking forward to the two of them going back and forth. I'm looking forward to the battles between the teams. I'm looking forward to the teams getting better because Angel Reese, I think, has a chance to be, she's already a star. I think she has a chance to be a super duper star. And I think, you know, and I told you the other day when we were texting, you know, I think it's going to take time. She's going to have some games where she's incredible. She's going to have some games where, you know, it's going to be a struggle. And the same for Caitlin Clark. And I think I love the fact that, you know, Angel Reese, she doesn't have any quit in her. That's clear. Like, I'm not sure who raised her or how she was raised, but she didn't have a lot of quit in her. And I think that's what she's going to need going forward.
Let me just say this real quick, though. With this whole battle thing, it is very, and we said it, very much media created because I don't know how many times that both Angel and Caitlin have said it's just basketball, no hard feelings. Angel has said, like, I talk crap on the floor. I don't care if you're my best friend. I don't care if you're my family. If you're across that court, you're wearing another jersey, I'm going to do what I need to do to get in your head and mess with you, and I'm going to talk noise. That's just that's what I do. But when we're off the court, it's all love. She's like, I don't hate Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin says, yes, this is just basketball. I didn't take any offense to it because she does the same thing. People fail to remember that. Like, they'll make excuses for her, but the thing is, when they play South Carolina and knocked them out of the Final Four, which is how they got to the finals to LSU, people don't remember her waving off Raven Johnson, saying that she wasn't going to guard her. Now, I don't know if people know this, but that's Angel's best friend. So she already was like, okay, you did this to an SEC team. That's our family. And then my best friend. And again, they don't play against each other. Right. But now that we've won, I'm going to do the same thing to you that you did to, I think it was Louisville when she did that too. And she's going to taunt. And yeah, I mean, people say it's bad sportsmanship, whatever, but it wasn't. It was just on the floor. And it's been 2 years now, and they still continue to say it's not a big deal. I think Caitlin even said, like, it's not even a rivalry. Right. Y'all think it's a rivalry. It's not a rivalry. We're just playing this game. I've been playing her since we were in high school. Like, we've been playing against each other since high school. She won. I've won. She's won. I've won. Like, we've been going back and forth. So I think the media has an opportunity to step in and kind of change the narrative a little bit and then we can celebrate both of them. And then, you know, it can be, here's Chicago now against Indiana, but it doesn't have to have all the negativity behind it. Right now it's too much negativity because the whole thing started from something that people thought as negative.
And
there had to be a bad guy.
Terrible too.
Yeah, but that's what the fans don't control the cameras.
But you know what? And I heard somebody say this. I can't remember.
Fans too, for sure. Fans.
It's like, you know, they ask for the eyes and they ask for, you know, fans to men in particular to support the W. And now we're here and we over here causing trouble. You know, just like, you know, the NBA.
Like, get your foot off my
like,
couch. Sit down and act like you got some sense.
Yeah. Well, you know what? NBA Twitter is so bad. NBA, now you think this is toxic. NBA Twitter is very toxic, but I think the thing is that most men know to kind of ignore it. This right here gets magnified because it's women, and I think they really haven't developed a space where they can, and I don't know why, because you can just talk about it. You know, I always hear men kind of, particularly on TV, trying to tiptoe, well, you know, it's this delicate thing to talk about. No, it's not. I mean, if somebody played terrible, you say they played terrible. If somebody made a great shot, you say they make a great shot. It's no different. One other thing I wanted to ask, actually I've got two questions before we get out of here. First question, something you mentioned a little earlier. We talked about the fact that the WNBA is mostly a black and brown league, and it's mostly a queer league as well. Oh, no, I would say mostly. 40%.
I don't know what percent it is. Sid says it's 99%. So I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I've heard 40%. Okay. I'm not sure what the numbers are, but let's just say almost half of the league identifies as queer, LGBTQ, whatever. How much do you think the league should play up on sexuality either way? Because like I see the runway stuff before the game.
The tunnel fits.
Yeah, the tunnel fits. Like,
yeah.
And it's funny because like in one of my group chats, one of the cats, he's probably the youngest cat in the group, and he might be 26, 27. So he's
okay.
He's appropriate. He's the big WNBA fan. So he'll send us and he'll be like, oh man, she is looking fine tonight. And I'm like, I mean, I'm old and washed and married. So I'm like, these young ladies, Angel Reese is young enough really to be my daughter. So I'm not looking at her like that. But he's 27, 28. He's young. He's a young buck. So how much do you think the WNBA should play into sex appeal or the, you know, sexuality piece of the women that play the game?
I mean, me personally, I don't think they need to. I mean, they're there to play basketball. I mean, guys are going to look regardless. That's why, I'm not saying that's why they do the tunnel fits, but if you're interested in seeing what they do like outside of the court, now we have social media. We didn't used to have that before. So now you can see the ladies get, especially the young girls or young ladies, they do the get ready with me. So you can see their outfits they're going to pick out and stuff like that. And that's interesting to maybe a young guy that's like, oh, Angel Reese is putting this on today. Right. Okay. Yeah. Let me go watch her play or whatever. And they do the tunnel fits and you can see. And I mean, I'll watch the guys' tunnel fits too, because I like to see what they look like, you know, outside of their jersey. Now, all of them don't get it all the time. Sometimes it don't look that good.
We give it a thumbs down.
But I think it, I don't know if they should have to do that to draw eyes. I just think it's an extra piece. So I don't know if they need to play up on their sexuality or even if you're dealing with LGBTQIA plus, like if you're dealing with that, you don't really have to insert that into it. I've heard a lot of people or some men say they don't like to watch because some of the women aren't attractive. But again, you're there to watch a game, but on the other side, it doesn't help to have some pretty women out there. Because like I said before, I was telling you, I started watching the NBA because I thought Michael Jordan was fine. That's why I started watching. And I thought Kobe was fine and Grant Hill was fine. And that's why I watch. But then, I actually like the game. So it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to have a little eye candy.
Yeah.
Some sweaty muscles out there if you're watching basketball. It doesn't hurt to have that. So I can assume, because I'm not looking at the women, I can assume it's probably the same way for the guys. Like I heard Kaiser's name come up a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She came
shout
up
out to her. She's no longer with our team, but she's someone who's very pretty that the guys love watching or whatever. And, an Angel Reese or Asia Wilson or Dejanay Carrington or, a lot of the women that you would say have like some kind of sex appeal or whatever. So I don't know if the W has to play up on that because you do have social media, but I don't think I don't know. For me, I guess I don't really know how to answer that because I don't really care if they have sex appeal or not.
I think it's I think there's some type of balance that can be there. I'll just share with you some of the conversations we had, in group chats. I've heard guys say, "Oh, such and such is cute," or such and such, or "Why does she look like that?" Like, because, and I think I told you this before, like when I was coming up, the women that played basketball didn't look, they weren't, a lot of them weren't that really appealing. Like if you were watching the WNBA game, you watching the game, you weren't watching for no eye candy because there wasn't a lot of eye candy out there. Of course, Dawn Staley was out
I was going to say, you ain't see Dawn out there?
Oh, no, but see now, Dawn,
with her feather bang?
Okay, so here's the thing. Dawn Staley, the head coach of South Carolina basketball, I had a crush on Dawn Staley when we were in high school. She's, I think, 2 years older than me. There was this magazine called Street and Smiths back in the day. Shout out to Street and Smiths. I remember getting a Street and Smiths to read, and I'm reading about basketball players across the country because, in '89 we didn't have the internet, folks. So that's how you found out about basketball players across the country. And I remember they did a layout on her, and she was standing at the free throw line, and I was like, man, who is this? She had she had her hair and remember the bob? Remember that? Like
asymmetrical.
Exactly.
Yep.
She had one of those
joints. Short on
joints.
here, long on that side. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, man, who is this? And then I started doing my little research and stuff, and I realized that she could hoop. And then by the time she got to Virginia, I used to watch her games and stuff. So I've always had like a little crush. And so I told my wife, I was like, if I go to a South Carolina game and Dawn try to holler at me, just chill. And she just looked, she's like, Dawn Staley ain't paying you no attention. Which is a lie because Dawn Staley listens to my podcast. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Shout out to Donnie.
So yeah, I think it's there's I think just like anything else. I mean, women I don't think watch football because football, well, let me say that. Women watch football, but they don't watch it for how sexy a guy is. Now they might be watching for their bodies and stuff like that, which, they ain't got nothing to do with me. But because I've heard women, oh, he's got a nice butt. And I'm like, you're not watching
those
the
pants
game?
look
like,
nice. Some of them look nice in those. They fill them out pretty nice.
You know what? Let me move on to the next question. So last question. You're an insider. You follow the WNBA. You're tuned in most nights. For those who are listening, give us some players. I know you're a huge Chicago Sky fan, but give us some players around the league who, just a couple of players who you think fans who are just tapping into the WNBA who aren't necessarily familiar with players outside of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, who they should be looking for.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to say I'm a Reese. For anyone that's wondering, I'm a heavy Reese and an Avenger. I just found out that's Asia's fans' name, Avengers. But people to look at, man, Seattle is doing well. You got Skylar Diggins-Smith, you got Jewel Lloyd, you got Nneka Ogwumike, who they've come together like Voltron. They're doing great over there. Exciting. Jewel Lloyd was the highest scorer last year for the WNBA. Mm-hmm. She was playing with one eye last game and scored like 30-something points. Phoenix, you got, BG is almost 7 feet tall. She just came back from a broken toe or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Brittany Griner,
DT,
for those of you at home.
Yeah, sorry, Brittany Griner. You got Diana Taurasi, who is the oldest player in the WNBA. She's 41. It doesn't look like she's stopping anytime soon. Mm-hmm. She can still ball. It's not like she's coming off the bench. Right. Like she plays. You got Kalia Copper, who left Chicago, came to Phoenix. Arike Agumawale, because it's hard for me to pronounce that.
It is.
They were going neck and neck with the scoring title, but Asia came up and said, wait a minute, I'm the MVP, and she took that away. But both of them were going back and forth scoring, crazy points, 30, 40 points. They're excited to watch. Arike plays for Dallas. So that's another team. Dallas is not doing that great now. They have a lot of injuries. They have a lot of people out. So it's really Arike kind of like, and maybe a few other players trying to make it. So I think they're still at the bottom. If not, they're like second from the bottom. But Arike is still very exciting to watch. Of course, my team, the Aces. Mm-hmm. You got Jackie Young, Asia Wilson. If you're looking for some flash, Chelsea Gray is the one you need to be watching because, oh my God, you gonna talk about Magic Johnson. Who else was a good player? Steve Nash, a good passer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nash.
John Stockton a little bit. If you like those type of players, Tisha Pinachero was in the very first beginning of the W. She was very flashy too, but she knows how to get that ball to anybody, anywhere. It don't matter how many people are on that floor. She is like a direct flight right to their hands. It's so exciting to watch. She just came back. She's been out since game 3 of the finals last year with a lower leg injury. So she just came back and she lit us up. I was in Chicago to see the game. She lit my team up. Kelsey Plum. It's so many different players. If you go down to Atlanta, Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray. It's just so many. New York, you got Sabrina Ionescu, you got Stewie, you got Brianna Stewart. It's a lot. Like it's so much talent in W that people don't know of. And if you're new and you just came for Caitlin or Angel Reese, there's so many more other players out there. Even on Angel's team, I mean, if you don't know who Kennedy Carter is, OMG, that girl, they call her the Flash, or that woman. Nobody stops her. If she gets the ball and she's running down the lane, nobody can catch her. She goes right to the lane. She's amazing to watch. And then, you got my girl, Camila Cardoso. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of good rookies, too, that came in. So I know Angel and Cece or Caitlin are like the 2 most popular ones, but you have Rakia Jackson who plays for LA. You have JC Sheldon who plays for Dallas. You have Alyssa Pili who plays for Minnesota. They don't play her that much, but then you got Aaliyah Edwards who plays for Washington. Mm-hmm. Her main players were out, and she was carrying a team pretty much by herself as a rookie, and so she's playing well. It's a
Cameron
you got
Brink,
a lot of talent.
I mean, she unfortunately got injured, but she
Cameron Brink
really well before she got hurt.
She's still number 2 in blocks in the WNBA, period. Wow. And she hasn't played in 5 games or something like that. So, I mean, they're making waves as rookies in this new class. But like I said, if we take the negativity out of it, it can be a really big celebration. I'm looking forward to the All-Star game to see who makes it. They're going to announce it. I mean, at the time of this recording, it would have already probably have happened or definitely would have been announced. But at the time of this recording, they haven't announced it yet. Tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow at 9 is when they're going to announce it. So it's going to be exciting to see who gets it. But that's probably a good display to see some of the best players in the W. I think the game is July 20th, so I don't know if this episode will be out by then or not.
Right around that time, yeah.
Okay. July 20th will be the WNBA All-Star Game. And I think that's a good chance to check in. It's the middle of the season. You get to see some exciting players, see what they can do, and then jump on in and watch the rest of the season after the Olympics because they're, the U.S. team is going to the Olympics. So I think they start back August 14th or 15th playing, and then it's August and September, and then the playoffs start at the end of September. So y'all should definitely check it out. It's some eye candy there too, guys. If y'all want to look at some cute women, they're there too. So, and they can ball. That probably should be a turn on that y'all see that these women, they're gritty, they fight, not physically, but they're dogs in the game, and they can come off court wearing a mini skirt and some heels, and you're into it.
Exactly.
Join it. Come watch it.
Exactly. So before we get you out of here, Jay, tell folks where they can find the podcast, where they can find you live, where they can catch you and follow you on social.
Oh, before I do that, one more thing. Shout out, I will say, because I am a Reese, shout out to Angel Reese, because at the time of this recording, she is leading the league in double-doubles. She is leading the league in rebounds. The league, not rookies, the league. She just got the WNBA record for the most consecutive double-doubles in WNBA history. That was 10 in a row. She already had the rookie record at 7. The only other record she has to, even if she cares, is Candace Parker had 12 in a row over the course of 2 seasons. Right? Shout out to Candace, which is Asia's GOAT. So when you talked about Asia pulling from different players, that's part of where she gets that from. But shout out, and Angel, it looks at Asia and Candace. So you kind of see that kind of developing. But shout out to Angel for breaking all those records. You're doing amazing. But you can find me at the JSpot Network on YouTube. My podcast, I do have my podcast episodes, but I don't have a lot of recent ones because I'm in the transition of pivoting. I'm doing more just stuff on video. I didn't realize how time consuming doing lives are, and now we're in the season, so I'm watching games and recording with other people and stuff like that. So it takes up a lot of time for me to just sit down and do my pod. But if you go to JSquick3, so J's Quick 3 pod.com, all my episodes are there, and even all my YouTube lives and everything is also on there on my website, so you can see everything there. I am planning to start my podcast back up with a series. Actually, I was going to do that this week. But
we'll see.
I'm going to look at that. I feel like I'm Doug now. Shout out to Dougie. At least you see me. I'm out there. I'm just not doing that part. But yeah, check me out. All my social media is there. If you want to follow me on any social media, you can go to my website, jsquick3pod.com, or you can hit me up on YouTube. Every Tuesday night, I go live between 7 Central. Sometimes I go early, sometimes I go late, depending on if there's a game on. But every Tuesday, check me out, join my live, come hang out in the comments, pop in, say what's up. And we have a good time over there. So that's that.
Yes, indeed. Well, first and foremost, got to thank Jay for coming through, as she always does. Like I said, great WNBA insider. It won't be long before she'll be reporting for some team or teams. I'm going to speak that into existence.
Okay, speak it.
Of course, you guys know, you've been following me. You can catch the 12 Kyle podcast every Thursday and every Sunday. We're now doing Sunday episodes all the time. So every Thursday, every Sunday, new episodes drop at midnight. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com, 12 Kyle podcast. And once you subscribe, make sure that you hit the like button as well as the notifications button. That way you can get notifications when the episodes drop. The great thing about the YouTube channel is that we have both audio and video. So if you have both ways of consuming the content. If you are on social, follow me at 12 Kyle podcast. And if you feel so inclined, you want to throw a couple of dollars our way, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Now, if you look in the description box, we do have what you call merch. Click the link that says merch. You can get 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, you name it, we got it. And of course, like I said, you can follow me on social at 12 Kyle. So that's going to do it for us. For the WNBA insider, JBoog, I am your boy, 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5 Gs.
Peace.